Wake up, Sean. Dude, come on.
What?
Well, we're almost at journey's end for Sean and Daniel Diaz, who are nearing their final destination in Life is Strange 2 Episode 5 next month. Ahead of its release, we got to play the first few scenes of Episode 5 recently, though it didn't give too much away about what's in store for the boys in their last outing. Well, there's still one or two things that we learned. Here's everything you need to know about Life is Strange 2 Episode 5, Wolves.
So?
Yeah, okay. Good call. Wow. That's amazing.
As well as seeing the opening scenes for Episode 5, we also got to chat to the voice cast about their experiences working on Life is Strange. Both Roman George, who plays Daniel, and Gonzalo Martin, who plays Sean, had very nice things to say about the writers and game makers for sure, but one person they were both singing the praises of was Phil Bosch, the voiceover director for the game who was tasked with getting them to give their best performances. Phil was, by his own admission, their toughest critic. Thanks to Phil and his great direction, I'm proud of the work that we've done, Gonzalo told us. I think any actor, or even any person hearing themselves talk in a recording, thinks it's weird and they hate it. But thanks to Phil, thanks to the fact that he actually found the truth in all our performances, I'm proud. Remember that you're hearing the good take, but there were hundreds of others, and so I'm very grateful to Phil for that, because it just makes the whole game a lot better. Phil himself said that as a voice director, my job, in my opinion, is to be critic number one, audience member number one. We all come in with our own ideas. Gonzalo would come in and be like, I saw the scene this way. And I would say, I saw it this way. But then I would sit on it and be like, you know what? Let's try that. That's the collaboration part of the process. But that can only happen if you trust the people. And you can only trust them if they're good.
I like it here, but we'll have to leave soon.
One very strange fact to know about both Diaz brothers is that the actors didn't know the parts they were playing until about a month before the game launched. And even then, they were only given scripts a few days before recording each episode, and so were only learning their characters' story trajectories as they went along. I had no clue, I was in the dark, Gonzalo told us. Once we booked it and we got the first script, I was like, okay, two brothers, one of them has a power, something bad happens, they're on the run. That's all we knew. We didn't know what was coming next. I didn't get scripts until 2 nights before, so we kind of learned the story as we went. Or even in the booth, we would be like, what is this moment talking about exactly? Or where are we? It was different, but cool. Usually as an actor, you get your character and you know the arc before you begin. Phil Bosch elaborated. With this, every episode they'd get new scripts. And sometimes, even within each episode, they would get it in 2 or 3 separate chunks. So that means that in one separate recording, they might not know, including me, the other 2/3 of what was happening. Now, that's gotta be tough for actors, but the pair said that it was just about trusting Phil and the LIS team to know where the story and their characters were coming from, and where they were going. It's easy to remember the characters for their big dramatic moments. Like the turning point for Daniel probably being that trailer-worthy moment in episode 3, I'm not a kid anymore.
I'm not a kid anymore.
But what stood out from seeing a short snippet of episode 5 is how far they've come in letting the smaller moments resonate. There's one bit where Daniel asks Sean about seeing an older gay couple kiss, and it was touching because it was so understated. Phil said, Roman as a human being is smart, so Roman understands there are different kinds of relationships in the world, but the character of Daniel, maybe not so much. So the first time Roman read that line, he read it like he completely understood it. And I was like, I need one where the character is less aware. And for my part, the line that ends up in the game, for what it's worth, wasn't judgmental at all. It was curious. And that was the balance that they had to find. In the end, I think it was very well dealt with. Roman says he likes Daniel more at the end of episode 5 than he did in episode 1. And he also says that he most enjoyed reading lines for angry, powerful Daniel, which I think is pretty understandable. To prepare for the role of Daniel, Roman was given homework to do in the form of some films and TV shows to watch, including Firestarter, Stranger Things, and The Good Son, although he admitted to Phil in our interview that he didn't watch the last one. Phil said he chose those shows because I had a pretty good feeling that there was going to be a dilemma of where you were going to take the morality and brotherhood choices. As for Gonzalo,
Let's see.
part of his homework was playing the original Life is Strange game, but he also took on a more difficult assignment. I went to the street and slept there, he told us. I felt like when we started recording episode 1, it was really hard for me. I was new to voiceover. I wasn't really understanding myself with Phil, but I understood where he wanted to get, but I just wasn't getting there. And that's when he suggested I go and have an experience in the street, and I thought he was onto something. So I went and I slept there so I could actually live and experience some of the things that Sean has to go through. Sleeping rough, being alert at night, having to beg for food and stuff. When I went back in to record the following week, I started nailing all my lines, which was not common at all. I went in and I didn't even tell him. With all respect, Phil, I didn't like Phil back then. To which Phil, by the way, replied, I know you didn't. So, Gonzalo continued, it was really hard for me to go into work, but I was like, I'm going to do it to show him I can do it, and I'm going to go into the studio, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to kill the lines until it comes up. Phil continued, well, what he did was, he read the line and I was like, keeper. Read the next line, keeper. And then finally I was like, what did you do? What happened? He was reading the lines and there was more weight to it, there was more truth to it, so I knew something had happened. Gonzalo says it took Phil a little while to believe him that he actually did it, but everything changed for him that day. That's when I felt I gained Phil's respect. And since I had done what he told me to do, I started respecting him so much more because I was like, he's right. So I'm just going to do whatever this guy tells me to do. I trust him. Both the actors state episode 4's church scene as one of the hardest they had to record, with Roman saying he walked out of the room bawling his eyes out with a pounding headache. Phil and Gonzalo agreed, saying that when you get done with scenes like that, you're emotionally drained to the point you feel like a raisin. Gonzalo says that for him too, Episode 1 when Esteban dies was one of the hardest to perform, mainly because he was so new to the voiceover world and new to the game. I'd leave the place just totally drained, he told us, emotionally, physically, but I'd leave with a sense of pride, knowing we did amazing work today and that's going to stay forever.
I love you. No matter what happens. You hear me?
Yeah. I love you too.
Diaz brothers.
Always.
The cast and crew are obviously excited to see how the community reacts to the ending, and they're also excited to hear from the new players who are going to be jumping onto the game now that the season is complete. But they're also aware of how difficult endings can be to achieve. Phil, who is a writer and producer as well as a voiceover director, says that endings are one of my biggest problems in general. And I find that when I meet people who want to start writing, my biggest advice is, I don't want to talk to you about writing and I'm not going to read any of your scripts until you have 4 feature-length complete screenplays done. I find that a good pilot is one that knows the ending, because you know where the story is going. You can tell a complete story. It's easy to write mystery and have a story go on forever. You can create mystery all day long, but it's another thing to try and find a way to end a story. I can happily say that they did a really great job with this, and I don't know if you've been told yet, but there are a lot more endings this time around, which is great. But I think what's going to be surprising to see is people see the little wolf save icon and they're like, oh, I made a choice. People don't realize all the other choices that allow for that to happen. He continued, I got to see the endings, not necessarily back to back, but I got to see the differences, and each one hit me in a different place in my heart. Even if you can't say it was satisfying because, oh, this one hurts, it's going to be a fulfilling end to your game and your choice based on what you did. And as a tough critic, I would have avoided this question if I felt like it wasn't done well. So there you go. You heard it here first, guys.
So incredible to see all those stars and planets up close. Hey, need help getting down?
Dude, I got this.
The main takeaway I got from the voiceover gang is that they're each proud of the work they've done, and proud to be a part of the legacy of Life is Strange. It's very distinctive, Gonzalo said. What amazed me about the project was the fact that it's not just a game for entertainment only. It also has a good message to put out there, to teach people something and show them a different reality that they might not be familiar with. I feel incredibly proud to be a part of something like this, because these are the things that actually have the power to move people, to teach them and eventually change the world and change the way that we behave with one another. Phil added, "We all know the 3-act structure, we all know how characters and problems are introduced, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And nowadays, technology is so great, we can kind of do whatever we want. There was a time in life, I'm thinking specifically about the 10 Commandments movie poster. I think about it a lot. That movie was sold on the idea of, behold the amazing special effects of the parting of the sea. And now it's like, you're at a computer. What time of day is it? Click. You got it. You want it snowing? Click. You got it. Stronger blizzard? Click. You can do whatever you want so easily. So the only thing that survives, the only thing that starts to matter, is character and story. That's it. And I find this game really pushes that. And as Life is Strange 2's complete season becomes available, publisher Square Enix is launching a new partnership in the UK with Centrepoint, the UK's leading youth homelessness charity, to raise awareness around some of the issues touched on by Sean and Daniel's story. There are currently 100,000 young people in Britain who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, and those numbers are going up as living and covering the cost of living gets harder out there. Centrepoint aims to tackle not just the obvious physical symptoms of homelessness like hunger, but also the emotional and mental impact that it has on young people in particular. The charity offers accommodation, but it also offers more long-term help like advice on nutrition and healthy relationships, and apprenticeship and skill-based learning. The point being, to help people get on their feet before moving on to an independent future. The main aims of the partnership are that through live streams and other ways of raising awareness, the charity can get the word out to a young, politically engaged base that resources and services are there to be shared. A pretty great legacy for the Diaz brothers, if you ask us. Life is Strange 2's final episode, Wolves, launches on December 3rd, and you know we'll have a Let's Play to go with it. Until then though, make sure and check out one of the many other Life is Strange videos on the channel, and check out the good work being done by Centrepoint. You can find information about the charity in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, and do like and subscribe for daily videos if you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in Puerto Lobos. Bye!